Hello and welcome to Maggie Mumbles. My name is Maggie and on this channel I mumble about the things that are interesting to me at the time and things that usually relate to witchcraft and spirituality and personal development. And I have been doing a series of videos where I revisit videos I made in the past. At first I thought I lost them, but then I found them. And then I wanted to add them to YouTube, but some of my beliefs have changed. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to show how it's okay for your beliefs to change, or at least I think it's okay because obviously my beliefs have changed. And so I'm just going through each of these videos, sharing what I still agree with, what I still believe, what's changed, why it's changed, and things like that. So if that sounds interesting to you, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss a video in this series. Today's video, we are talking about the importance of inconsistency in a witchcraft practice. And I think it's really interesting, just as like an aside, I've brought this up in several of the previous videos. When I made these videos, I did not know that I have ADHD and am potentially on the spectrum, have not been diagnosed. In some cases, I am clearly masking, and I can see that. And in some cases, it's like I know that my experience is different from other people. And so I'm giving tips for how to overcome ADHD before I really knew that I had it. Anyway, it's interesting to observe that, and one of the things that I think is really funny about this video is the idea that the one thing that people with ADHD are consistent about is being inconsistent. And that's basically what this video is about, is that it's okay to be inconsistent with your witchcraft practice, to give yourself a break, to take time for other things. Let's put the video on the screen and let's start watching. Hi! Today we're talking about inconsistency. So in terms of witchcraft, what does that mean in terms of your witchcraft practice being inconsistent? So this includes things like being moody or being spontaneous. What I'm really talking about with inconsistency is the opposition to routine. What's routine at its core? It's really a consistent set of patterns. So when you're inconsistent, you're not following a set of patterns. And routine is really, for some people, maybe not for everyone, some people are really good at routine, but for some people, routine is influenced by what's going on in your life at any given moment. And if you are influenced by things like your level of stress or your social interactions, how often you're able to socialize with your friends and your family, whether you're getting enough sleep, all of these things, if these really influence your ability to keep on a routine, then it might also influence your ability to keep up with your witchcraft practice. And whatever it is that's keeping you from your routine, whatever it is that's keeping you from your witchcraft practice, if it's disrupting you, you may feel like you're helpless or out of control, or you may even feel things like shame or guilt and some of these other low vibe emotions. And if you're also kind of an all or nothing type of person, you might find it frustrating when you get off track with your witchcraft because you feel like you should be doing it all the time because it's something that you like. And then you may go through these cycles of practicing constantly and then not at all for maybe even months at a time. Like I said, at that moment where I said that some people have a really easy time with routine, it's like all the signs were there. Why didn't I notice that I have ADHD? Some people do have an easy time with routine. Some people do not struggle at all with making time for their witchcraft practice. It's just something that comes easily. And for some of us who struggle with routine and struggle with time blindness, we have to come up with a bunch of systems in order to make sure that these practices that do add value, and I'm saying we, but I should be speaking for myself. I know that these practices add value to my life, and so because of that, I've come up with routines and structures to help me to remember. And one of them is actually using things like the moon phases to help me with recognizing the passage of time. I mean, that's what it was originally observed for, because people were observing that it was the same amount of time each cycle, so they could tell how much time had passed based on how many full moons there had been. So that's really helpful to me, in addition to just the idea of the moon is growing, so I'm going to focus on growing versus the moon is shrinking, so I'm going to focus on letting go, shrinking, sending things away from me. In addition to just that like symbolism of the changing shape, it's also about the length of time, knowing what phase it is. I know how long it's been since the last time I observed the moon, and it helps me with my time blindness because time is meaningless to me. So anyway, like I said, it's funny to see myself before I recognized why things were hard or why things felt differently to me or why I saw people who did not have a challenge with these things or did not struggle with these things and didn't have to have a bunch of systems in place, and now knowing sort of one of the reasons why that might be for myself. And you know, if you've had this experience as well, then let me know in the comments, especially if you are a neurodivergent witch, and how your systems have helped you to continue practicing witchcraft and feeling like you're connecting with that side of yourself. And then we have these influence from the outside world that's telling you that you need to be consistent in all areas of your life all the time to succeed. And in some places this is true. In some cases, in some areas of your life, you do need to be consistent. You should probably be consistent with how you show up to work. If you're supposed to show up to work on a certain day at a certain time, then you should probably be very consistent with that. If you don't brush your teeth on a consistent basis, you'll have tooth issues. And if you don't know, you should be brushing your teeth 2 times a day, every day. And if you're not consistent with your relationships, you may find that you have struggles with your friends or your family or your spouse if you're not consistently showing up for them, or if you disappear for a week and nobody knows what happened to you. That's probably not going to be an okay relationship. Of course, there are exceptions to this. Some relationships work really well with periods of being away and periods of being close. But in general, in some areas of your life, it's really, really important to be consistent. But I'm here to tell you, this must have been in 2017 because I just noticed that I'm wearing my engagement ring. So that clears that up. It's been bothering me. So it is 5 years ago. I was thinking it was 5 to 6. I don't think it was 2018 because I don't think we got engaged in 2018. Did we get engaged in 2018? Okay, so I actually just figured out that I made these videos in 2018. When it comes to that skepticism one that I was talking about, I was aware of QAnon at that point. My first episode that I listened to of the QAA podcast was the one with Anna Merlin on it. So that was at the beginning of 2019. So at this point I was not, at least I don't think I was aware of QAA or of QAnon and those conspiracies. But I was interested in conspiracy theories because I had just read her book, Anna Merlin's, and so I was like looking at everything she had done. And then I discovered that she was just about to be on this podcast, and then I started listening to the podcast, and the rest is history. So anyway, that's just a slight correction for that episode, but I don't think it really affects anything else that I've said so far. I forget what I said in this video. So I was talking about the outside world having expectations for you, and honestly, it's just like, seriously, Maggie, why didn't you know you had ADHD? Especially with the toothbrushing thing. That's like a common joke in ADHD circles, in the groups that I'm in the Twitter circles that I'm in, and the Discords I'm in of people talking about ADHD. Everyone always talks about how hard it is to remember to brush your freaking teeth. Why didn't I know? So anyway, at this point, I'm talking about both, you know, mundane consistency and magical consistency and how it can be challenging. And I do think that it is a common experience, especially for neurodivergent witches, like I said before, but it's just interesting because I think it's much more common for neurodivergent witches, and so I wish that I had known. But I'm here to tell you that being inconsistent with your witchcraft practice doesn't make you a bad witch. In fact, there's no such thing as a bad witch. So if you've gone through these periods of not practicing for an extended period of time, and you're feeling those emotions I mentioned, like guilt or shame, or like you're not a good witch, then I'm here to tell you that it's okay. You don't have to be consistent with your witchcraft practice. Online, we see Insta-witches on Instagram, witches on Instagram, who seem to be doing magic constantly. We see pictures day after day of things that they've done. And also, we read all these blog posts about how to practice regularly. to squeeze ritual and spells into our hectic life. In fact, I have written that blog post. I would venture to guess that most of you found Mumbles and Things through that blog post of how to practice witchcraft daily, because it's one of my most popular blog posts. And that was a theme for one of our live videos last month, was all about how to find time for witchcraft and how to find time for your magical practice. So I know that it can be a struggle. Obviously, people are looking for these tips. Obviously, people want to discover how to fit magic into our hectic life. I know that a lot of us struggle with this. You probably have this picture-perfect vision of what your witchcraft practice looks like. It's probably a collage of all of these different witchcraft practices you've seen on the internet and in movies and all sorts of different places. You've collaged together what you want out of your practice. And when you don't see it in your reality, it can be really disheartening. I totally understand that. So I talked in the Myths and Misconceptions video about these Insta witches, which I like that phrase that I use. I haven't used that for a while, about how you see people doing witchcraft and it seems like they're doing it consistently all the time. And I want to reiterate that a lot of people, myself included, who share witchcraft practices online may not be showing the actual ritual, that what they're filming may not be their actual ritual. And so a lot of it is about content creation, giving examples of what to do and sharing that with their followers. I don't think it makes it any less authentic or any less meaningful, but I think it's important to recognize that those videos and pictures are not necessarily a sign that that person is doing witchcraft all the time. It's a sign that they are making content all the time, which is also something that can be a struggle to do consistently. But I think that's important to recognize, that it's not a reflection of most people's reality. And again, I don't want to make a blanket statement that everybody who's sharing pictures of their practice online is showing like staged versions and not the real ritual. But for the most part, I feel like most witches who share their practice online are not sharing the full picture and are often only sharing, you know, the beautiful staged version of it. Speaking for myself, I know that a lot of the rituals that I do in private, I still try to make them beautiful, but I don't film the ones that are really important and meaningful to me, because those are private. And the ones that I film are usually not me actually doing a ritual. I'm trying to make it look a certain way to get attention and to be educational and to share ideas with people and inspiration, rather than, you know, what my practice actually looks like. But we also have to remember that life does happen. Life gets crazy. We have to balance health issues. We have to balance our jobs, our kids, our pets, our social lives, our partners, and all of these other things that life throws at us that are unexpected. And that's a lot. You're holding all of this up in balance and trying to make time for all of these different things that you're committed to. So I'm not surprised that you become overwhelmed, especially when you want to add that dream witchcraft aesthetic on the top of this pile that you're carrying. But give yourself a break. I am giving you permission to take a break when you need it. You won't forget everything you ever knew about witchcraft. You're not gonna go backwards, and you won't be arrested by the witchcraft police. In fact, I think that giving yourself a break when you need it is taking a step forward. When you force something that there just is not enough time for, you won't enjoy it. You probably won't even benefit from it. And it just gives your brain this chance to really absorb and reflect on the information that it has. So all of the things that you've learned, your brain now has time, when you take a break, to comprehend all of it and to think about new ideas. It's like we talked about in the self-care presentation. There's a time to relax and a time to take action. And so it's important to have balance with those things. And that includes with your witchcraft practice. Taking time to absorb the things that you've learned can be really beneficial without pushing yourself into learning it. Actually, I share this story in one of the presentations I did on developing your intuition and your psychic abilities. When I first started wanting to do this, I was really pushing myself. I was waking up at like 3 in the morning because that's the witching hour, and that's when the veil is thinnest, so I felt like I could receive messages more clearly, and I was pushing myself. I got to a point where I burned out on that. I wasn't getting enough sleep. When I stopped doing that and I gave myself a rest, that's when I started to notice my intuition. And then once I recognized what those intuitive nudges felt like, I was able to focus on them and develop them because I knew what it felt like. Whereas when I was forcing it, I was not in the right place for it to work. Taking rest is really beneficial in general. So if you want to perform a spell, if you have this plan to perform a spell, but you just can't seem to fit it in between the end of your workday and the start of your kids' extracurricular activities, it's okay to not perform the spell. If you used all of your spoons on your daily tasks and you have no more energy for meditation today, let it go. It's okay. If you forgot that the full moon was tonight and you're already snuggled in bed with your sweetheart, who cares? It's still mostly full tomorrow, and it happens every month, so it's okay if you miss one. Take the time you need if you need a break. If you feel like you have to do some sort of rush magic, then do it. If you have the energy and the time, fit that really fast, quick bit of magic in. But prioritize yourself and what you need. If right now it's not witchcraft, it's okay to let that part of your life slide. It's totally okay to let the witchcraft part of your life slide in exchange for other things that are equally important, or in some cases more important. Because witchcraft is supposed to enhance your life. Most people come to witchcraft in an effort to gain control over their circumstances, to claim their personal power, to feel connected to themselves and to the world around them. It's supposed to give you an escape from your to-do list and all of the stressful obligations that you have. If practicing witchcraft is adding to your stress, is it still worth it? If you find yourself mentally berating yourself because you missed a chance for a ritual, is it enhancing your life? I don't feel like it is. Besides, even if you did force yourself to tap into your personal power and cast that spell, do you think you'd be happy with the outcome? Your stressed out, overexhausted, overextended self is not in the right headspace to achieve the results you desire. So witchcraft is not an obligation to tack onto your to-do list. It's not something to grit your teeth and bear. It's about connection and about being the master of your destiny. And sometimes the best way to take care of yourself, the best way to be the master of your destiny is to take a nap instead of meditating. It's to spend time playing with your kids instead of dressing and lighting a candle. It's the ability to tune into yourself and to listen to your body and your mind. And sometimes doing these other things, playing with your kids or taking a nap and listening to your body, is even more powerful for your energetic and spiritual life than half-assing a ritual or a spell. So this is why I always talk about seeing the magic in everyday moments. Seeing the magic in playing with your kids, or taking a nap, or wishing someone good day, or creating a meal for your family, or the healing touch of a hug. Seeing the magic in these moments, because they can be equally, if not more powerful to your life than doing the actual spell or ritual. Yes to all of that. Self-care is witchcraft. That's why I wrote my book, The Kitchen Witch's Guide to Healing and Self-Care, because taking care of yourself is part of witchcraft. The one thing that I was going to mention in here is one little anecdote. As I'm writing this chapter, I'm visiting my family. My mother asks if I want to take a walk with her. I think, no, I can't possibly take a minute away from writing. Then pause as I realize the irony of neglecting my physical health and time with my family in favor of an hour of extra time to write about self-care. I close my laptop, stand up, and respond, sure, let me put on real pants. I was wearing leggings. I can remember many points in my life that follow the same pattern. I have ADHD, and I tend to cycle through hyper-focusing on different dopamine-producing activities. As I've learned more about my neurodiversity, I am more aware of this pattern and can recognize when I am neglecting aspects of my personal care. I invite you to become more aware of your own patterns and either record them in a journal or sit in quiet contemplation. Think about how you feel when you need care and how you feel when you have been cared for. What signs indicate that you could take better care of yourself? What are some ways you can promote your long-term health and wellness? Sometimes it means not doing a spell, and it doesn't mean that you're not a witch. It's important to remember that witchcraft ebbs and flows. It changes with the seasons of your life. It changes to meet your desires. So if you are needing a time to rest, your witchcraft will need a time to rest. Just like the natural world takes a break in winter, the trees lose their leaves, the animals go into hibernation, the natural world takes a rest when circumstances are too hard to survive. And your witchcraft practice does too. If it's too hard for your witchcraft practice to survive in that moment, it's going to take a break, and it's okay. When it does feel good, and when you feel like it's enhancing your well-being, practice witchcraft. But when it feels hard or you feel low vibe, take a break. If it feels good to practice every single day for a week, that's fantastic. But if next week you have a big deadline at work, or you have a ton of stuff going on with your kids and your family, it's okay if you take a break and you don't practice during that week. That's okay. So there will be times in your life when you have to take extended breaks from your practice. Months may even go by where you don't do a single magical thing. But in those times when you're not practicing witchcraft, you're still a witch. You're simply a witch who's on sabbatical. You're giving yourself space and freedom to work on yourself, to work on your life in the way that best serves you. So give yourself the room to take a break, to scale back when you need it. Let go of the need to constantly be pushing and working in every part of your life. Let a little more ease and fluidity into your craft. You'll be surprised by how good it feels, because when you return to the practice, you'll feel so much better. You'll feel so much more connected to it because you let yourself take that break, because you let witchcraft be something that enhances your life and not just something that you have to do. I don't have anything to add to this presentation. I think that was great. My beliefs have not changed. I think this was honestly probably an introduction for myself into this realization that it's okay to take breaks and to take care of yourself and to follow the things that bring you joy. And if that's not witchcraft, then that's okay. I just think that that is very true. I think recognizing that we are part of nature, nature takes breaks, so we need breaks as well. Being a witch doesn't mean you're practicing witchcraft all the time. Being a witch means that you know your power, and that means that you know when you are strong and when you are weak, or when you are energized and when you are tired, and all of these things, and following that. And that's why I think self-care is so integral to witchcraft, and honestly a key component of what a witchcraft practice is because you are caring for your energy and your abilities and your power and yourself, your body, everything. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that for all of these videos that we've watched so far, I'm pretty sure I still have those closed, and it would have been so funny if I had just worn the same outfit because I haven't updated my wardrobe like hardly at all. I did recently start getting the Stitch Fix subscription, which I've loved at everything that they've sent to me. I'm not sponsored, not big enough to be sponsored by Stitch Fix either, but I'll put my my code. I have an affiliate code or a referral code, I guess. So if you, I'll put that down below. Maybe if you would like, I think it gives you $25 off your first order. And I think it gives me $25 off if you buy something. Anyway, so I have updated my wardrobe with that, but I think I haven't gotten rid of a lot of the stuff that I had in 2018, which is actually not that long ago. Now that I think, it's only 4 years. It's not like my body has changed a lot. It's not like when you're between 8 and 12, when you like have a growth spurt and you can't wear the same clothes anymore. I don't really have anything else to add. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure that you like the video before you leave. Please add any additional commentary that you would like to share in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.